I'd like to call tonight's Lower Macungie Board of Commissioners meeting to order. If we could all please stand for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, for the roll call, it looks like everybody who is supposed to be here is here. There are no agenda modifications this evening. There are no announcements or presentations. Moving to item 6, hearings and approvals, resolution 2024-33, preliminary final land development approval for Lehigh Valley Town Center roads and basins, 361 Shantz Road and 4511 Cedarbrook Road. Mr. Jones.
Sure thing. Commissioners and members of the public who might be watching. This is a project that is associated with the Topgolf, but is not directly Topgolf. As we've discussed at the workshop and a couple of other venues over the time that this has been in front of us, this is the basin in the road that is going to serve Topgolf. In the future, it will also be a road that will service the rest of the mixed-use portion of the development. We've been focusing and working with the applicants, though, primarily with the eyes on getting Topgolf moving with their construction so that they can meet their timeline. The basin is going to manage not just Topgolf's water, but eventually the rest of the water from the site. But we need to proceed forward with this plan in order for Topgolf, which the board has already approved, to get moving on construction. There has been a significant amount of time spent on traffic study as well as stormwater study. We had a staff level meeting today on updates on where things stand with the third-party agencies. But by and large, after several months of review, there's a strong level of comfort with where we're at. If you look at the main road right there, it should be noted that the main entrance to the development will likely occur after the Cedarbrook Road turn off there. We do have the Sycamore Colonnade, which was originally shown in the plan to be included on that. We're working on the final name for the street. There's been a meeting had regarding PennDOT and the status of the existing roads that are out over there on that site and how they'll be impacted as a potential turnback. And the only other thing that I'd like to note that we discussed during the workshop is that there is a waiver request for road design standards. That waiver request for the road design standards specifically because there is a cemetery right in the way that dates back to the 1800s. So without going onto that ground, they are going to need to design the road a little bit differently. Beyond that, there's really not much more to note other than the fact that we're waiting on the final PennDOT approval for the interface with the bypass, but the construction access and a temporary access have both been contemplated and both will be hopefully approved in short order by PennDOT. So that's where things stand with it. And again, we're working in partnership to try and keep Topgolf on their opening schedule, construction schedule.
Move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any commissioner comments or questions?
Just one question.
Yes.
The road where they have to modify. Rick's saying that's a private road.
No, that's going to be a public road. That's a township road.
Maintain.
Well, we will be maintaining it when the time comes, sir. But again, the difficulty with this particular situation is this design, it has a hardship associated with the fact that we have 200-year-old graves that are part of an ordained cemetery that are essentially right there. So getting around that's going to be a bit of a challenge.
Along those lines, just for clarification, originally it was discussed, or there was a note that you put in that indicated that there were not any township roads involved associated with that waiver. The resolution as it's written does not have that in it. So if we did accept the Cedarbrook Road, then there would not be an issue.
Yeah, and there would, and I think it's important to note that PennDOT is urging the township to consider the take back process, which is still underway, and there's still discussions on it. So there's no finality to it yet to discuss here this evening. That is part of this, but I think right now we're mainly focused on the main road and the basin. Everything else is going to happen administratively after the fact, and we would present to the board again.
I have one question. Nate, you can answer this or the applicant can, depending. So the turn into the current hotel, to me, it seems extremely cumbersome from a public safety standard that to make the right into the hotel, it's almost like you're making a U-turn, like a full U-turn into the hotel that you currently don't have to make. Right now, it's just a simple right-hand turn. Was there any way to not make that so drastic or make it a T intersection that would allow for easier access for public safety vehicles?
I think we best to throw
Yeah.
that to Mr. McRoberts.
Sure.
Sure. John McRoberts from Pidcock. The reason we couldn't make a T intersection closer to 222 is the intersection separation with the stacking at the signal as you're facing southbound on what's going to be North Cressler Road.
Mhm.
That's our spine road. The turn lanes there for vehicles stacked at a red light waiting to turn, either go straight or turn left or right onto 222. They would be in the way of vehicles exiting from the hotel. So by moving it back a couple 100 feet, we have room for that stacking, and then there's enough space for vehicles to get in and out of the hotel without being blocked by other traffic. So it was more of a, during the routine traffic operations, day-to-day operations, this will operate better. It's easier to get in and out to the hotel. It is a little bit slightly further distance, but all of the intersections are spaced so that you can get a tractor trailer with a 53-foot trailer in and out. So the routine customers and cars going either to the stone distributor or to the hotel should have no problems with turning movements or
Okay.
discomfort.
Thanks. Anything else from the board? Any public comment or questions? All right, seeing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
6.2, Resolution 2024-34, preliminary final land development approval for Cove at Millbrook, 3109 Macungie Road. Mr. Jones.
Sure thing, sir. So this plan was discussed at length at our last workshop. As everybody is aware, and for those watching at home, just a brief recap. This plan has been in front of the township for quite some time. Questions and concerns did come up with an unnamed tributary to the Little Lehigh Creek and its impact and the development's impact on that unnamed tributary. We've gone over now several years worth of review that has both been submitted by the applicant as well as review undertaken and done in partnership and independently by the township engineer to learn what's going on in that particular portion of the watershed, which we found is an incredibly large watershed, and impacts not just from the proposed development, but what's really going on there right now. That's all been presented to the board on multiple occasions in public meeting. But here this evening with that issue more or less settled as far as review from our engineers and engineers on the applicant's side. The plan is now before you for consideration of approval. It is the road that we did discuss last time, which is a horseshoe road that does hold 16 residential units, so single family homes. This does have the immediacy of the vacation of the stormwater, so there is no basin component. It does go into the stream. I'll let the township engineer speak to that again a little bit further for those who might be watching at home. But there will also be paths on site. The path on site actually is being done in lieu of frontage improvements on Macungie Road. That way, this public access path does not have to go in that tree line there right next to essentially ethereal stream or sometimes running, sometimes not running creek that exists. And then frontage improvements upon Sauerkraut Lane with double frontage improvements on, and this doesn't show it in the landscaping plan, but the reverse frontage berm that we always have. And we do have provisions that as much of the existing vegetation abutting the residences in the northeast corner there be saved as possible. The main issue that we have been discussing in addition to stormwater has been, again, talking about township roads. This is a road that does need waivers. It has to do with the turning radius on both sides there of the curvature. The fire department has recommended that there be parking on only one side to allow for the largest fire apparatus to get through to serve residences there. And as the resolution is written, because they're requesting a waiver, this would be a private road as opposed to a public road. So again, we have spent the lion's share of our discussion over the many years on, almost years on this, regarding the stormwater in the northwest corner of the site. I will hand it off to Brian to talk about that a little bit more. But this evening, as the resolution is written before you, it is a recommendation for approval with that item taken care of, and then up to the board for further discussion on how you'd like to proceed with the status of the road.
Mr. McAdam?
Yeah, I'm going to help Nate pack a little faster if he keeps referring the stormwater to me, but no, I say that obviously jokingly because I feel like we have discussed it more than a few times. This project is located within a sub-watershed of the Little Lehigh Creek watershed that is a conditional no detention district, which effectively says do not put a basin in, a detention basin, relative to the studies that were done years ago for the Little Lehigh Creek. Accordingly, we have had the engineer do the appropriate analyses to ensure that they are compliant with the ordinance requirements, and we're comfortable with what's proposed. As it relates to the respective waivers, you know, the turning templates provided do show that access can be provided for fire trucks, trash trucks, et cetera, with the addition of the no parking on the one side of the street. You know, we're okay with that. And you know, really the other waiver in terms of a design type thing is for the pipe material. The applicant is going to be removing, replacing, and extending the existing cross pipe in Sauerkraut Lane. And it was at our direction that that work needed to be done relative to the existing conditions and various permitting requirements. It's a little bit more straightforward to go with corrugated metal pipe as opposed to reinforced concrete. And therefore, they're requesting a waiver to change that pipe material. Technically, the ordinance requires reinforced concrete for pipes in township roads. Corrugated metal pipe is an approved PennDOT product. And under the circumstances, you know, trying to take the big picture into consideration, we don't object to the use of the material for this particular situation.
Move to,
Oh, sorry. I was going to say that's about it. Without continuing to ramble, that's really as much as I feel like I want to add.
move to approve.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Commissioner comments or questions? I'll just go on record that I'm still uncomfortable with the roads being private, as well as the stormwater situation. I understand what the science says and what the engineering says. There are just some times when I have to believe in what my eyes see versus what I'm being told should happen in a perfect world. And that does concern me with some of the issues that we're currently having in that quadrant of the town from a flooding standpoint. So that's all I have to say about that. Any resident or any audience member wish to speak on this topic? Okay, seeing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, item 6.3, consideration of sewage facility planning module for the Cove at Millbrook land development. Mr. Jones.
This is the sewage planning facility for this 16-home subdivision. So it's been reviewed and approved by DEP. At this point, it's been reviewed and approved in-house. So this is really ministerial at this point for us to vote for it.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any commissioner comments or questions? Any comments or questions from the public? Seeing and hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Item 6.4, consideration of bids for solid waste collection. Mr. Beidle.
Thank you, gentlemen. You have before you this evening, consideration to award a contract for solid waste collection. As the public may or may not know, we've been having these discussions for probably close to a year about the need for our expiring contract as well as the need for a renewal. The current contract does end at the end of August. So we'd be looking for September 1st transition. This proposal would allow for the rest of this year plus 3 years with an additional 1 year and 1 year at the choice of the township. I will say that we had several bidders that took packets. We did receive 3 proposals back. Thanks to the vendors for working with us between JP Mascaro, Whitetail, and Waste Management. I think, we were able to do a lot of due diligence in seeking those proposals and trying to incorporate the ability to have flexibility with the options that the board may want to execute, including the base trash and recycling, yard waste at the curb pickup, grass potentially at the curb pickup, hazardous household waste and e-waste both at your door, and another proposal had drop-off sites. So would ask the board to consider the levels of service that you'd like to see, as well as then considering a vendor with those services selected.
Before asking for a motion, I just want to speak to how I would like the motion to occur. If you're going to make a motion to approve this contract, please make the motion so that it lists exactly what you would like to see included in the contract, as well as who the vendor will be. So that would be, stating what of the 4 levels of service you're looking to include in the contract, as well as the vendor. Everybody got that? So then I will entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to award Whitetail for trash only, and this will initiate discussion on services that the rest of the board feels that they would like.
Okay. We have a motion. Is there a second? Okay, so there is no second, so the motion fails. I will then request any other motions from the board. Your microphone.
I make a motion that we award the contract to Waste Management for a total of $125.31 for all of the services provided.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Commissioner comments and questions. Commissioner Beitler.
I'm going to be voting against this because my second option would have been for trash and curbside yard waste. And Whitetail comes in lower on that bid than Waste Management. And talking to residents, I feel that the hazardous waste is not used only by a small percentage. And doing research today, as far as household waste, PPL will pay you to pick up and recycle your refrigerator with Freon in it, your dehumidifier with Freon in it, your air conditioners with Freon in it. They'll pay you. I did a quick search now, Sherwin-Williams store, just to quote what they say, as far as paint, hazardous waste, just bring your leftover paint into a store during regular business hours. We'll take care of the rest. And they're helping to take care of the planet. So that's a big concern for a lot of people. Old paint, and there is ways to do it. Secondly, the county, I don't know if it's annually or biannually anymore, you can take televisions there to get recycled. It's just my feeling that the majority of the population does not use all 3, mainly the hazardous waste disposal. So I will be against that motion.
Okay.
And
Commissioner Roberts.
actually, I would like to make a slight modification to the overall offering that okay, so now another piece of this is the yard waste drop-off at the township. And my understanding is that the fee is going to be $115 per year. Or,
I would just say that's a potential fee. It could be more, it could be less, but that's what's in this.
okay, but that's what's in
Yep.
the offering at this point. And one of the issues I have with the yard waste collection at this point is that it's only during the grass cutting season. And people do a lot of fall pruning and things like that, where at least once a month, there should be a pickup throughout the entire year. And so if you have the $3.52, then it'd only be $1.75 per month, you know, extra to be able to provide that service, I would assume. And so that would be very beneficial associated with having people not have to pay the fee to be able to carry things to the solid waste or the yard waste center. So I would like to make that, that actually I would like to modify my motion to have that be the case of having a monthly pickup for the season, for the part of the season that there's not grass pickup as well, or the part of the year that there's not grass pickup as well.
I have a
So
question.
Just one second, Commissioner Beitler, Mr. Beidle.
if I may, Solicitor Berman, if we check the proposal in the contract, I believe we asked for a number of yard waste collections. I don't know if we specified the actual season. So we should look if we put a quantity of, say, 26 yard waste collections, how we schedule those. I don't believe that we said in a certain season. So I would need to look at grass we did. I would think we would need to look at the yard waste section. So I'm going to try to look that part up in the proposal.
I guess my question, if yard waste is included in the bid, does the permit fee go away?
So there is a cost to operate the yard waste facility, not included with this. I would say if it's included as part of the selection of service, there will still need to be a separate permit from the township with a cost. Currently, we have 6,000 individuals that have yard waste access permits. Now, the cost for the township to operate that this year is around $300,000 to $320,000 a year. We figure once we start to charge for permits, that 6,000 may drop to 3,000 as a conservative estimate. To have 3,000 permits, we need to charge $115, $100 to $115. So either way, we're going to have to charge unless the board chooses to eliminate the compost site.
So I get it. Clear that.
And the more pickup there is by at the curb, then the less need there would be for a permit.
So we call in the request for proposal, section 502 collection, item B, yard waste. If the yard waste alternative 2 is selected by the township, contractor shall collect yard waste curbside from April 1st to the last week of September of each contract year for a total of 24 weeks. So that is identified in the proposal of a time frame for collection.
Well, it's every other,
Correct.
it's every other week though, so So it's not really 24 pickups, is it?
But little bit of balancing. Townhouses and other.
Yeah.
If they're using it more than time period and or volume.
Should, before we keep going down this road, I just want to make sure that this is done in an orderly fashion. It would be my assumption that that these prices are based on what the RFP spelled out. So these prices are based on April to September pickup. Changing that would change what the request is. So I don't know that we can change that at this point.
I'd have to look at the language. Tend to agree with you, but there are certain less consequential changes can make. I just don't. I don't think it is. But
Commissioner Beitler.
I'm listening to David, but it's like we're adjusting this on the way, saying what we came to vote on. I mean, it'd be like if I'd asked to have garbage twice a week instead of once. We should not be adjusting this on the way. And as far as the yard waste, it's all speculation now. We don't know if there's going to be a fee, a big fee, a little fee. Right now, there's no fee for that.
Correct. You will need a fee though, however, a fee.
We will, but right now, while we're voting on this, no fee for that. And
But what?
when there is a fee, then what we'll be doing is double charging. Well, if you want to use the yard waste center, you'll be paying, and you'll also be paying at the curb.
Right.
So
Okay,
I would be voting against modified motion also.
well, I wish to,
Commissioner, just so you know, did give option. Buying two, if you will, require two.
Big double, right?
okay, so I would like to withdraw my motion to modify it and continue with the motion that has been seconded for the 125.31 and request.
Just stated. This would be the waste management bid with yard waste, grass, HHW waste, of course.
Right. And I would also like to request that the township manager investigate the possibility of having year-round, at least limited year-round curbside pickup of yard waste only.
Other comments, questions from the board? I'll give you my 2 cents because I've gone through this and I've talked to people and I've looked at it. Generally, I don't like to rescind services that we already have in place. That being said, I also don't want to have to charge for services we already have in place more than we currently are. However, in order to keep the status quo or as close to the status quo as possible, there is an increase in price, and that's the case everywhere. It's the case. It was the case in South Whitehall. I know it's going to be the case in other communities in this township or in this area. And the reason that we're in this situation is that prices have gone to the point where Waste Management decided to void our contract, at the end of the 3-year period where it couldn't be, and they had the option to do so. So there's a business decision for this. I think the household hazardous waste part is important. I look at the stack of cards we have right there that are specific to household hazardous waste, and that tells me that people do use it. I know that I've used it. I do appreciate Commissioner Beitler's inventive way around that by using multiple different outlets, whether it's a paint store or PPL or the county. To me, though, that is also adding to the labor part of doing so. I know that I had to get rid of a large television once, and it was very easy to put it in front of my garage as opposed to having to load it up and take it someplace when there was accessibility to it. I do believe that by keeping the yard waste and grass collection, that we make the yard waste center fee, which will be coming and will probably be coming relatively soon, as optional to everybody. So this way, you have the option to leave it at your curb and not buy a permit. If you choose to go to the waste center, you're gonna have to buy a permit, and it's an additional service that they get to choose. We don't choose for them. And then I guess finally, this comes down to a difficult decision at the end. And this is, I'll tell you exactly where I stand. We've been a really good customer for Waste Management for a very long time. So I'm disappointed that they decided to opt out of the contract before the end of the 5 years. I believe that with Whitetail, we will probably get a higher level of customer service, being that their service department is local and not located in Phoenix, Arizona, which means less stress on our staff. But when it all comes down to it, when you figure in the household hazardous waste component, where it can be picked up at your garage once you schedule it, versus having to take your stuff to a destination once a quarter, which means you're going to have to store it for a quarter. And the difference being $1. Essentially, it's $1 a quarter. I don't know how I could not take the waste management proposal, even with everything said there. So I'm in favor of the motion. I wish it was better. I can tell the public that we have put many, many, many hours into this over the last 9 months. We've known about this for 9 months. We've tried to reassure everybody for 9 months that we will look into this. We've mentioned it at every public meeting we've had. We've sent out information to people understanding that this is the case. I'm comfortable in saying that our increase, if not the lowest in the area, is really close to the lowest in the area compared to other communities. In a lot of ways, this is what we're put up here to do, is to make these decisions on behalf of the residents. I have to believe that keeping what we have, or keeping as close to status quo as we can, is in the best interest of the community as a whole. So, any public comment or questions on this topic? Sure. The motion, as stated, is to award the contract to Waste Management for municipal solid waste and recycling, yard waste, grass, and yard waste, grass, and household hazardous waste and e-waste picked up at your door. The total is $125.31 a quarter. When you factor in administrative fees from the township, it comes out to $139 a quarter. It's an increase of 54.4% over what we're currently spending. Any public comment or question? Yes, sir. You just come up here to the podium.
My name is Paul Brady. I'm the president of Whitetail Disposal. And I just want to make sure that everyone understands, with your RFP, there's more flexibility with your service than what you've had in the past. As Mr. Roman mentioned, you now have equipment for your MSW or your trash service. And so you're also allowed to get a second can, which allows for a lot more additional ability to get rid of grass clippings or something that happens as far as your actual curbside service goes. So what I want to point out is that I don't think, and just so you know, from the RFP numbers, you have 8,713 tons of MSW municipal trash a year. You have 2,376 tons of recycle per year. You have 105 tons estimated of grass clippings, which is about 1.2% of your MSW alone. And your yard waste is less than that. It's less than 1%. So with the additional flexibility that the equipment brings to the community, you can maybe limit and use the yard waste or the grass clippings. And that, with that flexibility, you also have the ability to pass along additional fairness to the residents Because, for example, some seniors put out one bag a week, whereas some larger families and that might need a second toter. Certainly for those who aren't, who are bagging their grass clippings, they'll be able to, if they so choose, elect a second toter that's available to them with significant savings to the community. So you have a lot more flexibility with your recent RFP because of that equipment, because you're using equipment for MSW. So I think there's some significant savings there. As far as the hazardous waste goes, you have a lot more flexibility. 4 events is a lot of hazardous waste events for a community, and that's from my experience with surrounding neighboring communities. So if you find 2 years from now or 3 years from now that no one is putting out any hazardous waste because it's pretty much gone, you can pare back on the event service, because events are 40,000 per event for a hazardous, 20,000 per event for electronic waste. So you also have some additional flexibility later on as things develop, if you so choose, at that point in time. But I did want to point those numbers out because I want to make sure you understand that's a big change moving over to the MSW equipment, the trash equipment, and that flexibility allows your residents in the community. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer. And I'm very, very thankful. Thank you for the opportunity to bid on your business.
Thank you. Yes, sir. The one thing I will mention, and something we haven't mentioned yet, the new contract it's a 3-year contract. The opt-outs after year 3 are at the township's discretion, not the vendor. Right. So in 3 years, it could change again because it's our discretion, not necessarily the vendors, as currently it was a mutual.
And also for the benefit of the people watching, these rates will go up every year.
Correct.
So this is not going to be a fixed rate for 3 years.
Exactly.
Yes, hi, Ron Carlson from Waste Management. A couple things I'd like to address, just to clarify. The yard waste and grass, our local facility will now shut down and not take anything after October 1st. So I think that was the basis of going to end at the end of September. They used to take it till the end of October. This is First Regional where we normally bring it. And now they are shutting that operation down the last day of September. Secondly, the household hazardous waste and electronics curbside collection, that is something you do not see in Eastern PA. I mean, it's rare. There are municipalities that have events, but you're not going to see that kind of program. Western PA is quite prevalent with that. Eastern PA, it's a few municipalities that have events. So our municipality is very lucky to have that. I am a resident of Lower Macungie and I definitely appreciate it. Big Mouth is done. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment or questions on this topic? Yes, sir. Commissioner Butler.
Containers were mentioned. Are the containers the same for both companies?
Yes.
Yes.
Because you had mentioned an extra container.
Well, you can purchase an extra container for your house. So that you're going to get one given to you, 96-gallon garbage container. If you need more than that, then the resident can purchase a second or third or however many they need moving forward.
So they can purchase 2 or 3 containers.
Correct.
Put 2 or 3 out a week.
Correct.
From both the companies.
Correct.
That was a big inquiry to me.
Mm-hmm.
Going to one container only.
Yep. Yeah, that was when we did this the last time with recycling, that was the same case. We gave everybody one, you could purchase a second.
And there's no cap on it. I mean,
And
somebody's
there-
not.
There's got to be a cap on it.
We will provide an additional fee, which,
Right.
we will charge the resident for each one of
Yeah.
those additional carts.
What, a monthly fee or?
Quarterly fee, just like you see here, there will be a fee to have a second cart. That is not included. Right,
All right.
They're quarterly.
Okay, so they don't just buy the container.
correct.
They pay a double fee.
They have to pay a fee. Yep.
That's-
Well, it shouldn't be double because this is both recycling and trade.
Right. It would be whatever the whatever the trash
Ratio.
portion is would double.
Correct. Whatever the second cart fee is, that we would owe to the vendor, if there is.
But so that means you're
Thank you.
gonna trash all of the grass? That means you're gonna trash all of the grass if they put it in that container? You're gonna take it to the landfill?
Mhm. Thank you. Okay. Seeing no other comments, I will call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you, everybody, for the vibrant discussion. Thank you, staff, for all the work you've put into this. Thank you to the vendors for your interest. And, thank you for the residents who have responded to our request. I will say, and Bruce, you can correct me on this. I think we have 9,000 people who get service and we've gotten 10 emails.
Yeah, probably 10 plus or minus.
Right? But also, the cards that get sent back about, what they think about certain parts of the service. So this was a huge effort undertaken by everybody. I would tell you it's probably the largest effort I've seen since my time on the board to come up with such a complicated solution to a difficult problem. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah, on behalf of Bruce and I'd like to thank you too, because you made the process easy. The bids were quality and candidly, it gave us a lot to consider. So I appreciate it too. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 6.5, Resolution 2024-35, amending the 2023 budget year-end budget transfers. Mr. Beidle.
Thank you. As we've seen at the last meeting, we've completed the annual audit for the 2023 budget year. As part of our fiscal policy, it's necessary that we have the board consider this year-end budget transfer of funds to balance the 2023 year-end budget in correlation with the audit report that was presented.
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Are there any commissioner comments or questions? Any public comments or questions? Seeing and hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Public comment on non-agenda topics. Seeing none, we'll move on to communication. Mr. Beidle.
Thank you. We have several this evening. Chris Cassidy from New Bethany. That's a letter of thanks for the township's annual donation. Notification from Astound Broadband RCN of a rate increase. John Parrish, Public Safety Advisory Committee, a letter of resignation. You have to accept his resignation.
Is there a motion to accept the resignation of John Parrish from the Public Safety Advisory Committee?
So accept with regrets.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second to accept John Parrish's resignation with regret. Are there any commissioner comments or questions? Any public comments or questions? Seeing and hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, Mr. Beidle.
And finally, notification from Christopher Greb from McCungy Ambulance, a letter thanking the board and the residents for funding their newest ambulance and various equipment for that refit and upfitting. So Chris wanted to let everybody know it's in service. Thanks for everybody's support on that end.
Okay. Okay, item number 9, there are no appointments to various boards, committees, and commissions this evening. Item 10, approval of minutes from previous meeting, June 20th, 2024.
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes from June 20th, 2024. Are there any commissioner comments or questions? Any public comments or questions? Seeing and hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item 11, approval of the transfers, bill list, and payroll. Mr. Beidle.
Thank you. We have the following for your consideration this evening. The general fund, $912,699.40. The solid waste fund, $259,351.66. The sewer fund, $1,198,191.62. The capital projects fund, $244,733.81. The open space fund, $1,801.50. The liquid fuel fund, $182,322.39. The payroll, $369,567.44. Developer escrow, $53,220.07. For a total of all funds, $3,221,887.89.
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second to approve the transfers, bill list, and payroll. Are there any commissioner comments or questions? Any public comments or questions? Seeing and hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And as always, for the public, you can view our full bill list on our website, not the full bill list. It's different. Okay, item 12, departmental matters, engineering, Mr. McAdam.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just one item for you tonight. If you recall, there were 3 different MS4 projects that were to be done this year. In May, the board took a recommendation to approve the bid for the Spring Creek Swale. Tonight, what we have in front of you is the bids that were out for the Hills at Lock Ridge Basins and the Brookside Road Swale. We're recommending approval to, apologies, my eyes are getting better, but they're not quite there yet. To CMR Construction, the 2 bids, we had done a base bid and a bid alternate, and we're recommending to just run with the base bid. The bid total for the 2 projects comes to a total of $427,406.
I would note 2 things. We are familiar with CMR. They did complete the work on the township rain garden. We were extremely satisfied. And the second thing to note, importantly, that we are over budget with this project. We did budget $160,000 less to complete both of these projects. However, they are required by our state mandated MS4 permit and our permit cycle, which means these have to be completed by March of 2025. So we really do not have another opportunity to wait on this and have those done and complete for the permit cycle. So I just wanted to be the board to be aware that we are over budget on this project. Unfortunately, we have to continue and push forward with it.
Move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Are there any commissioner comments or questions? Any public comments or questions? Seeing and hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Mr. McAdam, anything further?
Just to add to what Bruce was saying about the budget, I believe when we put the budget together last summer, it was predominantly for the MS4 work. As we evaluated the basins at the Hills at Lock Ridge, it was determined that many of the head walls, the flared end sections in the basins were in poor condition, and part of the contract is to replace those. That's really I wouldn't call it a structural thing, but it's not a purely MS4 component. So while the project did come in slightly over budget, I think close to $70,000 of that is for the flared end sections as opposed to just the MS4 work. So like I said, just to add a little bit more clarification to the project being over budget.
Thank you. Any questions for the engineer? Thank you, Mr. McAdam. 12.2 planning, Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir. We got 2 security releases for active construction projects in the township. One's for Guardian Storage, which has been in place for some time. And the other is on Hamilton Dental on Hamilton Boulevard, currently under construction. The first resolution for the security release for Guardian Storage will be releasing $16,500 $70,000 and $70,315 will remain in that escrow. So we do have a resolution for you to vote on that.
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any commissioner comments or questions? Any public comments or questions? Seeing and hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Okay,
Mr.
one
Jones.
more for Hamilton Dental. We'll be releasing a larger sum, $354,225. Much of that is work that is being done on the infrastructure with the site for stormwater and whatnot. Remaining on that project will be $197,918.
Move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Are there any commissioner comments or questions? Any public comments or questions? Seeing and hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Anything else, Mr. Jones?
Nothing further for you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the planner? Okay, moving forward, 12.3, Solicitor Bruman.
So in front of you is a settlement agreement with Avery Quinn. Bruce sent it out, I think around 3 o'clock this afternoon. Give you a little background, the township was sued on May 8th because despite a condition in the development approval stating that they couldn't get their CO until sauerkraut was completely finished, they basically hired a different law firm that went in guns blazing to Court of Common Pleas, asking for emergency relief, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're now 2.5 months down the road. Road's not finished and they don't have a CO, in part because they haven't qualified for CO, not just the road. But it made sense to settle. So what you have in front of you is a settlement proposal, which basically they are agreeing that the road's not finished, that the township will finish it on their timeline, and that might be whenever, and that we're being indemnified and held harmless for any damage to the road that they cause while they use it when it's not completed, and put up $50,000 in escrow to back up the indemnity. That's basically settlement.
Move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Are there any commissioner comments or questions? Commissioner, Mr. Vital?
If I may, just for the record too, you're authorizing the manager and the solicitor to execute all documents with that stipulation.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
Are there any commissioner comments or questions? Any public comments or questions? Seeing and hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, anything else, Solicitor Berman?
Not this evening. We do have pretty aggressive briefing schedules for the Western Lehigh case and also the 3500 Brookline. Both briefs due in August. So I expect a decision on both of those by December.
Thank you. Okay, Township Manager, Mr. Vital.
Thank you. I just have just a couple quick things. If the board's able, we can have a quick executive and talk about some potential litigation and then a potential land acquisition as well. And then just like to note the rec newsletters hit mailboxes. Thanks to staff, you'll see a lot of our programming out there for what you can find. And also thanks to staff, the chamber, all those that have donated so far. Residents will probably be aware now. The township has partnered with the chamber to offer a veteran banner program. You'll notice on Hamilton Boulevard near Brookside, there are now 23 veteran memorial banners that have been purchased to honor those veterans that have served for the township. We also work to have some Welcome to Lower Macungie Township banners in the area. We're posted up on 25 polls so far. We're going to continue to push the program. You can buy your Veterans Memorial banner through the chamber. They have a link posted on their website. The banner will stay up, come down in the wintertime, do a season, and then the individual has the ability to take their memorial banner, so their family. So I wanted to thank the chamber, definitely Public Works for coordinating and installing banners, Renee for her work on that, and all of those that have chosen to memorialize your family members, and we appreciate that. Thank you for your service and what you've done for us in the country, and allowing us to honor you on our telephone pole. So that's all I have, unless there's any questions for me.
I just want to give a shout out to Commissioner Beitler for pursuing this issue over the last 5 years. It took way too long, but kudos to Commissioner Beitler for that.
Agreed. Thank you, Commissioner Beitler, for that.
And Bruce.
Just quick question, before we wrap up here. Going back to waste management, when is the first bill that set out under this new fee schedule?
I have to look when the quarterly billings go out, but it will be for that last component. So there is a cycle and a B cycle. So
Probably September?
yeah, they will see that coming soon on there.
The other question that I have regarding that, and something to follow up on, is what will happen with old garbage cans? Where do they go? Do they get picked up by Waste Management?
You turn them upside down and they pick them up and throw them out.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we have,
They'll fit in the
Wait.
96.
yeah, put them inside the 96 gallon.
And Renee does have a notification drafted. We'll work to finalize our first round, get something out to the residents about potential changes to their service. Now that we know a vendor, and kind of implement those timelines and expected timelines for, delivery of toters, carts, and everything on that side of it. So that it's our goal to get that out fairly soon. So
There'll be 2 additional.
so you'll get one, and that is for your trash. The recycle toter that you currently have will be what we'll continue to use for your recycle. However, if you have a 35 gallon and at some point that it breaks, you will get a replacement 65 as we phase the 35s out to a standardized 65. So you will continue to use that component.
The crash, just put it in the bag.
Craft bags at the curb. Yard waste needs to be bundled no bigger than 4 feet by less than 40 pounds of your sticks and
None of
branches.
that's changed though from the previous.
That is correct. That is
And
the
you
same.
can use your old garbage cans for putting out yard waste.
That is correct. Up to five bundles. So that'll stay the same.
Hey, is there any old business this evening? Any new business this evening? Okay, under item 14, Board of Commissioner reports. The next board workshop is this coming Monday, July 22nd at 6 p.m. The next regularly scheduled board meeting is August 1st at 6 p.m. There will be an executive session following this meeting to discuss potential litigation and potential land acquisition. And with that, we are adjourned.